welcome to my channel. If you're new to cardio and HIIT exercises, I just thought we'd do a few minutes of an introductory, kind of a short class on it, give you some of the key points, because you may hear words like Tabata or HIIT, high intensity interval training, and not really understand what it's all about. So let me explain. First of all, the idea of high intensity interval training is that instead of doing what's called steady state cardio, where you're just going for an hour jog or for swimming or even a long bike ride on the road, at a certain point your heart hits equilibrium and you've got a good cardio going and you're exercising and you're moving along, but at the end of the ride or the end of the jog, you come home, you take a shower, and within a few minutes your body's back down to where it was before. So you did burn some calories, absolutely, and you got a good cardio exercise going, but most of the time while you're afterwards, you come home, you're not really going to be enjoying the benefits of that exercise. So compared to that, you have something called HIIT, which is high intensity interval training. The concept of a HIIT is that where you, instead of just going to a steady state cardio, where you're just kind of going at the same equilibrium jogging or swimming, in high intensity intervals, you do high exertion of energy, and then you bring it back down to a few seconds or minutes of rest, and then you go back up to high intensity, and you bring it back down. The benefit of that is twofold. First of all, you're kind of shocking your system. You're not just getting into an equilibrium, but you're keeping your body constantly moving. You're exerting yourself, you're bumping your energy up, you're starting to get your heart racing, relax and let it come back down. The second benefit that's been proven many studies is that even after completing a HIIT workout, your metabolism is boosted and you're still going to be burning calories, you're still going to be exerting energy, you can feel that sweat for hours later, even after you finish. So compared to, let's say, a jog or swim, when you're finished your workout, you're pretty much done with your cardio and you're done with your calorie burning. When you do a high intensity interval training, it's a different experience, because after you're done, your body's still kind of jazzed up, it's still energized, and you're still going to be burning off calories. Most of them work on 1 minute increments. So for example, a beginner would say, let's say, do 30 seconds of activity and then 30 seconds of rest. So you're working hard for 30 seconds, you get your heart rate up, maybe you can't breathe, you gotta slow down, and then at 30 seconds, relax, let your heart come back down, and then you get up again for another 30 seconds. As you get more advanced, you can go to 40-20, so that's 40 seconds of activity, 20 seconds of rest, or advanced can do 45-15. So in every minute, you're high intensity for 45 seconds, then 15 seconds, you let your body calm down, and then for 45 more seconds, you keep going. Most high intensity interval training are much shorter than your steady state cardio. So if you could jog for an hour, there's no way you'd be able to do this kind of high intensity sprinting for more than maybe 15 or 20 minutes. So that's actually the third benefit of a HIIT cardio, high intensity, is that you get it done much faster, much more efficiently. So you get in, you get out, you get your heart rate going, you get the sweat flowing, and you still enjoy the benefits after you're done. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what those exercises look like, things you can do right here in your home, rain, heat, snow, inclement weather, nowhere to jog. You can still do it in your living room, you can do it in your bedroom, anytime, anywhere, there's really no excuses. So let's get to it. I'll show you a few options. So the first most important exercise to work on is your legs. Your quadriceps are your largest muscle in the body, and therefore it makes sense that if you exercise them and you exert the most energy into using those quadriceps, you'll be burning the most energy. So kind of the father of all leg exercises is the squat. So to get in the squat position, you want to have your legs slightly wider than shoulder width, and the focus is going to be in your heels. We're going to be driving our heels down, not on our toes. You want to get off the balls of your feet, and you want to be focusing about driving your heels into the ground. The most important thing about the squat is not to be bending over. You want to be able to stick your tush out. The motion, they say, is as if you're sitting down, as if you want to sit down. So if you see over here, it's like I'm going to stick my butt out as if I'm sitting down and then come back up. So you want to stick your butt out, keeping your back nice and straight, and come back up. So the motion is going to be really focusing on your heels, your butt. You want to come at least parallel to the floor. Keep your legs apart, get your butt down, and then when you come up, nice and tall. You want to get your body nice and straight. A good pointer is if you pick a point on the wall across from you and just pick up your body. Come down, in your heels, come back up. Go down, come back up. Okay? After a few of those reps, start to feel a little bit of burn in your quadriceps. That's a good thing. Most of these routines, we're going to go through 10 to 12 or 15 times. Excellent. Let's do a couple more. Focus in your heel, drive into the ground, butt out, stand nice and tall. All right, very good. The next most important leg exercises would be the lunge. The lunge is a forward or rear motion where you're taking a nice wide step forward and bringing your knee to the floor or close to the floor. And then you're going to pop back up using this leg. So the lunge motion would be extending your leg forward, coming back up. And then you rotate. Switch to your left, stand back up, pop up, nice and straight, deep, reach, jump back up. Left, come back up. So this is what's known as a forward lunge. Okay? A variation of the forward lunge is the rear lunge, where you start and you do the same motion but in reverse. Step back, nice and deep stretch, and then bring yourself back up. And then rotate side. So that's the rear lunge. Okay? So sometimes we can put them together. So you go rear lunge, forward lunge. Rear lunge, forward lunge. That would also be considered like a walking lunge, where you do one leg, then you walk and do the other leg. If you have room, you do forwards and backwards. A more advanced technique would be a jumping lunge, where you're doing them simultaneously, where you're going to jump in between. In one of my Tabata videos, I do this, which is more an advanced move, which is more difficult. You have to leap off the floor. Again, if you can't do the jump, so just do the rear or do the forward lunge. Got it? Okay, so those are two of the most basic leg exercises, which will be really good to start with. The other one I'm going to start now focusing on is the upper body. Push-up, obviously, we've all done them since we're kids in school, but the technique is not as necessarily as simple as you think it is. So when you do a push-up, you want to make sure that your arms are slightly wider than shoulder length, and that your body, your core, is straight. A lot of people tend to stick up their butt or drop down. You want to keep it as nice, straight, and hard as possible. The technique when you do a real push-up is not to keep your head down, because then people tend to cheat when they get their nose to the floor and they're still quite far from the ground. So rather, you want to keep your head in a neutral position, kind of just facing forward, so that almost like your nose, your mouth or your chin touch the floor first. So when you come down, really put your hands slightly turning outward. That takes a little bit of pressure off your shoulder. And you don't want to flare your elbows out. That's a no-no. You want to keep your arms tucked in a little bit, your elbows tucked in a little bit towards your body. So this would be a bad push-up. This would be a better push-up. Keeping those arms tucked in closer to your body. Now, the other important thing about a push-up is most people ask the question of how many push-ups can you do? I'm not a big fan of that question, because you could do 100 bad push-ups, or you could do 10 real push-ups. So probably the most important thing about doing a proper push-up is at the top of the motion, you want to fully extend and squeeze your chest. So rather than doing this, you want to go all the way up and give it a squeeze at the top. Down, squeeze at the top. So your push-ups will be much slower, but much more controlled. Squeeze. And nice and controlled, nice and slow. You really start to feel the burn on your chest very, very quickly. So that's a push-up. Another very common high-intensity cardio technique is called the mountain climber. The mountain climber is basically the same position as a push-up. You're starting on the ground like this. You're leaning over your hands. And the idea is you're going to be bringing up your foot, kicking it off the ground. So beginners will just do one, and then step, step. Okay? You want to be leaning on your hands. You should feel it in your shoulders and in your chest. And do a tap, 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 okay? You don't want to be like this. You want your legs extended fully out like a push-up. And then bring it in and tap. As you get more advanced, then you don't need to touch, and you just run. One foot, the middle foot not touching. And then you can go as fast as you want. And you would keep that technique up for the duration of the interval, whether it's 20, 30, 40 seconds. Okay, right now we're going to focus a little bit now on abs. There's some really good techniques. A lot of you have heard of the plank. So let's talk about the plank for a minute and proper technique of the plank. Now, if you have the plank, as you get on your elbows, like the push-up we described, you want to have your body nice and tight, nice and straight, not bagging, and not having your tush up in the air. Try to get it nice and tight. Now, a lot of guys have done planks. You probably hold the plank like this for a couple minutes. You can have a conversation. It's pretty easy. What's important for a plank is to engage your core. You want to tighten those stomach muscles. You want to tighten up your core, and you want to have the feeling of somebody, as if I use this as an example, someone's about to punch you in the stomach. You're playing around with your buddies, and you tighten up your stomach before somebody punches you in your stomach. So make that stomach, tighten up that core, squeeze it, and you feel a much more intense feeling, much harder to talk. The second thing about a plank, instead of just being passive, you want to actively engage your core. And you do that by driving your elbows backwards and towards your feet to pull them together. So the motion is kind of like you're squeezing your elbows backwards and your feet forwards. And that intensity engages your core, and it's a whole different experience. So let's see, let's try hold that. Let's try hold that for 30 seconds right now, okay? So let's get down on the ground, elbows down. We're just gonna do a 30-second plank. Okay, grab it, push down with your elbows, pulling towards your feet, tighten that stomach muscle, as if you're gonna get punched in the stomach. Hold that nice and tight. It's not easy. It's a lot harder than those, I call passive planks. People just hanging out there for minutes on end. Here we go, a few more seconds. All right, that's it, excellent. So that, my friends, is a proper plank. Another good motion is your standard jumping jack. So we're all familiar with those jumping jacks. Feet together, and you'll get some nice motion going. There's also something called a squat jack. So instead of a jumping jack, like we talked about our squats before, so basically you're doing a jumping jack, but into a squat, and then up, and then into a squat, and up. So that's a little bit of a harder motion, a little bit slower, but that's another really good option as well. And finally, I think we'll end with this one, another really good cardio. It's called knee highs. So you're familiar with running in place. People run in place all the time, but this is knee highs. You want to bring your knees above your waist, put your hands out, and you just run in place. You keep that going for the duration, again, 20, 30, 40 seconds. You can pick up the pace if you're better. If you slow down, if you can't keep going, and you keep that activity going for the duration of the HIIT workout segment. So there you have it. Those are probably about 7, 8, or 9 basic HIIT techniques that are essential. Pretty much 80% perhaps of all those high cardio techniques work off of that. I'll be posting up a whole bunch of videos for you guys in using those techniques, and we'll do it exactly and see how it works. In my next video, we'll talk specifically about Tabata and what that's all about. So look forward to seeing you guys. Thanks, Trevor. Bye.